And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brendan Deek. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Really cool episode coming for you. I'm joined by my coworker. He is the NFL insider and NBA insider for theScore. Jordan Schultz is with me. Jordan, what's going on?
Brandon, doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell the audience that you have been very patient with me trying to make this work. So I appreciate that, and I'm excited to come back.
No worries, man. I know you're super busy. You've been a guest on the show before. It was before we were both at theScore.
Yes,
so it's our first time together at theScore. It's been a pleasure working with you. You've done such a tremendous job at the company. An awesome home run hire for theScore, I'd say.
Thank you.
NFL draft season's over. We're kind of in that lull now. We've got a couple months until stuff starts to pick up, but we can still talk about what happened over the weekend. So let's just talk about kind of some teams that you were, I guess, liked through the draft. Maybe give me 2 or 3 teams that you thought killed it over draft weekend.
I think, okay, so let's start with your audience, the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't think it could have gone any better. Let's start with the back half. You get Moro Ajomo in the 7th round. I thought he was a 3rd or 4th round player. He was on my defensive sleepers. Just a really good football player. He will not only make the team, he will make an impact. He's very, very underrated. I can't believe he slipped. You got the Georgia connection. You get Keely Ringo, who is from my neck of the woods in Seattle and ran 4.32 at 215 pounds or whatever it was in the 4th round. You get Nolan Smith, who should have been a top 15 pick late in the 1st. You get Jalen Carter at 9. And, by the way, you get a guy named DeAndre Swift, who, when healthy, is one of the best running backs in the league, electric. So that Georgia connection, that pipeline is very strong in Philly. Howie Roseman doing a hell of a job once again. Obviously, last year, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. We go down the list. So I'm really excited about what they did. I just thought Atlanta with Bijan Robinson at 8 was a home run pick. And for me, it's about removing Brandon, the running back label, that moniker, and just thinking offensive weapon. He is a cornerstone player in person. You couple him with Kyle Pitts, Drake London, a top 5 offensive line. And I think they're committed to Desmond Ridder. They draft Bergeron, a guard in the 2nd round, give him more help. And ultimately, if you think about last season, they ran the ball 36 times per game, the Falcons did, when Ridder started. So this is going to be a play-action attack. And you'll see Robinson deployed in the slot, in the split out wide, obviously in the backfield. You can do so many things with him. And I think that, coupled with Algier, who's a good young back himself, that's going to be a dynamic offense. And Arthur Smith is going to be a very happy man.
I know a lot of people bring up the term positionless football on offense. Atlanta's literally going to play positionless.
Yeah, they're a basketball team too.
Yeah, exactly.
They just went out and got they have the freak team. At least off the bus. It's going to take them a while to get it going with a young quarterback, but that team, to your point, absolutely. And I think they had a home run. Can I give you one more team I really liked?
For sure.
I like what Seattle did. Obviously I have a Seahawks helmet here. I grew up a Seahawks fan. I met my wife at a Seahawks game. I'd be lying if I said I don't root for them. But I'll tell you, for them to go out and get Devon Witherspoon out of Illinois at 5, and then in the back half of the 1st round or whatever it was in the 20s, they get Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, that is a ridiculous haul in the 1st round. And yes, they could have gone Anthony Richardson, potential replacement for Geno Smith down the line. And I do love Richardson, but this is a team that is building, I think, one of the best rosters in the NFC, which is kind of wide open. I mean, yes, Philly's really good, and Dallas, Green Bay might be good, Detroit, but that is a winnable conference. And if you think about Seattle getting Witherspoon, it's also a sign of how they've changed and evolved under John Schneider and Pete Carroll, because he's not one of these 6'3" long, rangy corners with real size like a Christian Gonzalez, who I think measured 6'2", and I thought that might fit their profile more. You think about some of their DBs over their 10-year stretch of being really good defensively with the cover 2. Obviously, Tariq Woolen now, but Brandon Brown or Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, big physical guys. Witherspoon is physical, but he's also someone that is under 6 feet, ran really well, a heat-seeking missile. And I talked to Ryan Walters, who was his defensive coordinator at Illinois, now the head coach of Purdue, and he told me the guy is as competitive, fiery, and tough as they come. He thinks he's going to be an elite corner. I agree completely. And I just love the pick. And I think it shows that they're getting away from that cover 2 with Clint Hurd. It's more quarters. They're asking their DBs to be more versatile. And I love what they did in the 1st round. And I think Smith and Jigba, I talked to Geno right after they drafted him, and he just texted me elite. Like that is an elite pick. So you think about Smith and Jigba in the slot or wherever you want to put him. I think he can move around a little bit. Lockett, who is killer in the slot, and then obviously DK Metcalf. Man, that is special.
Question for you about the Seahawks, because they drafted 2 running backs in this class. They drafted Zach Charbonnet in the second, and Kenny McIntosh was their last draft pick. Kind of caught people off guard
under the radar. Yeah.
Is there any worry about Kenneth Walker's health, or is it just like we're going to stack the room?
No, and I asked around on that, and there's no worry about Walker's health at all. But what they do want to do is preserve him and realize that this guy is a blue chipper. He has a chance to be an all-pro player. I mean, he is really, really good. We saw last year, electric.
Extremely
but you add Charbonnet, who's more of a physical guy, who can run in and outside, who can be, I think, a third down magnet, can really catch the football, was downright dominant at UCLA, one of the most productive running backs in the country. And then McIntosh is more of that Kenneth Walker mold, more of that K9 mold, where he's electric, a lot of juice, can catch the football. And another guy that, listen, I know it's a running back, but I couldn't believe he was a 7th round pick. And I don't know if you saw the phone call of him and John Schneider and Pete Carroll. He was really emotional. I thought he should have been a higher pick. So I love what they did at running back. I think that's going to help. Both those guys are going to play a lot this year.
Okay, let's get maybe a little on the negative side here. What's a team that you thought maybe came out of draft weekend that you were a little disappointed in?
So I don't even – it's hard because it's so early, but I was really surprised with what Detroit did. Because, I believe in Brad Holmes. I think what they did signals a couple of things. One, that for whatever reason, I know he didn't play a ton, but DeAndre Swift, they just moved on from. I think he is – he has similarities to Jahmyr Gibbs, who they got at 12. They trade back from 6 to 12, and I thought they were going to – I put it this way. I did not think they were going to go running back. They ended up trading Swift, which – surprised me that they just decided to move on from a really good young running back. They obviously signed Montgomery, 3 years, 18, almost 9 fully guaranteed. So now they're set at running back. But that move just in general set the tone for what they're trying to do, which I think maybe is to build around Jared Goff. So, yes, it shocked me that they went Gibbs at 12. But then to go Hooker, now I'm not sure what they're really trying to build, because a part of me felt like maybe they were going to try to extend Jared Goff and get him to be the long-term quarterback. Hooker is arguably the most ready quarterback, maybe aside from Bryce Young, to go right now. I guess you could put Stroud in that conversation too. All those guys are pretty much ready to go. But Hooker is someone that is coming off the injury and is going to be healthy. And at 25 years old, 26 years old, you would expect him to be someone that can pretty much handle an NFL repertoire. So I was a little confused with what the Lions did. I love Hooker. I love Gibbs, but I'm just not sure why they felt they needed to go there, right? Because they had Swift and they had Goff, who almost led them to a playoff berth last year. So I'm a little surprised in general with the Lions' path, but I have been really impressed in general as well with Campbell and Brad Holmes. So I do want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, of course, the NFL draft, you don't know until a couple years down the line, but I agree, it felt like a weird use of resources, especially when they paid Alex Anzalone, a linebacker who Lions fans, I work with a Lions fan who hates him, and the fact that they brought him back, he was not too happy with. And then you draft Jack Campbell, and then, like you said, they
have Malcolm Rodriguez, who played well.
Exactly, yeah.
Campbell's a really good player. I had him on my sleepers list. I thought he would be a 2nd-round pick. They valued him more. That's a Lions pick, right?
Because it was a weak linebacker class, so I get it from their perspective. Let's say if you wanted to go get the guy that you thought was the best linebacker in the class, go do it at 18. I understand that. And then, just the running back thing, like you said, they gave David Montgomery almost $10 million guaranteed.
Real money.
Real money. Yeah. So, and then you're just basically ripping the Band-Aid off with the DeAndre Swift. I want to ask you about DeAndre Swift. The Eagles ended up trading for him. It was a 2024 or 2025 4th-round pick. Were there any other suitors involved with DeAndre Swift, or how did the DeAndre Swift to the Eagles trade process come about?
Yeah, there were. So as soon as they made the pick for Gibbs, you knew it was only a matter of time. You just didn't know when. There were 3 or 4 other teams involved. Ultimately, Philly had the best package, and on top of that, I think Holmes felt pretty comfortable dealing with Howie Roseman, and obviously Howie was ultra aggressive to go out and get him, having lost Miles Sanders. But that's a really that. It almost I didn't think that got enough attention, that move. because on one hand, it really surprised me, but more importantly, big picture, you add DeAndre Swift to Jalen Hurts, Kenneth Gainwell. It's a good backfield, a tremendous offensive line, the weapons they have, and I just that he could be a Pro Bowl or All Pro player next year. He's year 3. He's got all the ability. Man, I just couldn't believe that Philadelphia got him on top of everything else they did in the draft.
If you're like me, you were tired of trying to find jeans that fit right no matter your build and still look good. Introducing the newest sponsor of the Double Doink podcast, Sweat Tailor, a premium menswear brand that is defining a new kind of casual. I started wearing Sweat Tailor and I am blown away by how comfortable and affordable the clothes are. And of course, they look great. My favorite is the all-in pants. It's a 5-pocket pant that feels like sweats but look way better. Thoughtfully tailored and unbelievably stretchy. From jackets and pants to joggers and hoodies, Sweat Tailor's designs are made to seamlessly fit into your life, moving from runway to office, office to drinks, and drinks to wherever the night takes you. Specializing in casual wear for men, pieces are designed with comfort and versatility in mind for your everyday. Use promo code BDEEGST, that is BDEEGST, for 25% off. That again is BDEEGST for 25% off your order at sweattailor.com. Okay, so of course, Jalen Carter has the car accident stuff behind him, and there's of course those concerns that pushed him down the draft. The Seahawks, it sounds like, didn't have him on their draft board, and a couple other teams. Other than that, are there any other character concerns with Jalen Carter? Are you hearing from other people that maybe he's lazy or anything around that? Like, is it just strictly the car accident with Jalen Carter, or are there other concerns Eagles fans should be worried about?
So that was one of my top priorities going into round 1 was who else or which teams have removed Jalen Carter from the draft board? Why specifically? Is it because they don't think he loves football? Because that's very different than the character concerns. And the main philosophy, or I guess the main tenor, was this guy he's a good guy. He was involved in a tragic situation, but he does love football. And Philadelphia, believe me, did their research. I talked to a few teams that day, and basically the thought process was he wouldn't get past Philly at 10. So for him to get drafted at 9 by the Eagles made a lot of sense. If you think about his history last season at Georgia, he got injured twice. And specifically, he had a foot problem that could have sidelined him for the rest of the year. Basically happened in the middle of the season. He opts not to shut it down and then helps them win a consecutive national championship. I think that said a lot. There were concerns. I won't lie to you that maybe he didn't practice as well, but that was more speculation. And I don't know. I don't know to buy into that. I've talked to enough Georgia guys that really like him personally and obviously think the world of him as a player. So I'm pretty much good to go on Jalen Carter. And I think the Eagles, I mean, there were some teams that believed he was the best player in the draft, period. So for them to get him at 9 is pretty special.
I've watched a lot of tape of him since, and I don't see like the effort concerns or any of that. Like he goes hard every single play. Like if his tape matches what you're saying that he loves football, like it completely makes sense. And that's why
100% in the comfort level now next to Jordan Davis on that defensive line. There's and Dean and just go down the line. There's like an unspoken language when you've played with a guy for that long. And you've gone through battles together, especially at the highest level, the pinnacle of college football. So, yeah.
Exactly. A perfect landing spot for him. Okay, there's some other names floating around now. I guess the next 3 months are going to be kind of trade talks and other stuff like that. Are there any names that you're watching in the months of May, June, July that could potentially get moved?
I mean, I would say Patrick Queen doesn't have his 5th-year option picked up. Cesar Ruiz, another one, interior lineman, good player for the Saints. I guess the biggest name is probably DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he had that video on Instagram which blew up saying, who said I wanted to leave? I'm not ready to say he's not going to be traded because the Cardinals, Monty knows that he is not 1 or 2, but he's like 5, 6, 7 players away from being even like relevant, like really relevant in the NFC West. And I do like what they did in the draft. I thought they did really well, especially getting the lineman Campbell, or Johnson. But I ultimately, I still think there's a real shot Hopkins, who's 30 years old, gets traded. I mean, they want, if they can command a second or maybe even the 3rd round pick, to me, that's worth it because you send Hopkins to a better situation with a better quarterback. Just the fact that Kyler might not play this year, to me, is a real concern. And Hopkins is not he's not what he was 4 years ago, but he's still a top 12 wide receiver. And there's a lot of value in that. So I guess I would say this, Brandon, if he was surprised and Monty decides to pull the trigger because there is interest, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was ultimately dealt.
Have you heard anything about Isaiah Simmons?
That fifth-year option wasn't picked up as well. He was a top 10 pick, I think.
He was 8th overall, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to move him. When he was drafted, he was called a unicorn, an alien. This guy can do all these different things. I don't think he was used properly. And I talked to Cliff Kingsbury about him, who obviously is no longer there, but just about the person. He said, listen, Isaiah really wants to be great, but he's still learning the game. He's still a really young football player. He's learning the position, and he just needs time. So I have to believe that they're gonna try to make it work with him, even though they didn't pick up the fifth-year option.
Okay, I'll get you off on this. Let's get a little crazy here to finish it off. Super Bowl prediction 2024. Now. If you were to predict right now, Jordan, who's making the Super Bowl?
Oh, well, I gotta go Philly. I can't.
I know I caught you off guard with that.
I'll go. Jeez. Okay.
I'll start it because I think it's a rematch right now from last year's Super Bowl.
I was gonna say
that's how I think it's leading right now.
I do think Baltimore is gonna. Just put it this way: the AFC South is just a nightmare because I think Baltimore is gonna be a lot better, not only with Lamar but Odell, Zay Flowers. Pittsburgh's gonna be better. I guess I would say if it's not Kansas City, why can't it be Buffalo? Why can't it be Cincinnati? Why couldn't it be the Chargers? So my conventional pick is Philly, Kansas City rematch.
Okay.
My non-conventional pick is Seattle, Cincinnati.
Okay.
Because I think Seattle's going to be. I told you it wasn't just those two picks either. I mean, they hit on. I felt like every single pick. Derek Hall from Auburn, another really good one. So to me, Seattle with Geno is probably the biggest sleeper in the NFC. I really like them. And I want to say San Francisco, but the uncertainty of quarterback is just, I can't go there yet.
Okay, Jordan, anything you want to plug in before we go? I know you've been doing a lot of work at theScore, a lot of writing and stuff like that. You want to plug in anything?
Still breaking news. There's a trickle-down effect of free agents. I wrote a story today on 10 teams and what I really liked about the draft and kind of the ins and outs of how these picks were made. We talked about DeAndre Swift, talked about your Eagles, talked a lot about Tennessee. Rand Carthon, I thought, did a hell of a job and with his first draft with the Titans. So I thought that piece turned out. I'd say it's one of my favorite things I've done. So hopefully I would urge everyone to check it out.
Make sure you follow Jordan on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you get your social media stuff.
TikTok too. All right.
There we go. And on TikTok. Let's go. Jordan, thanks so much for doing this, man. You're the man.
Thanks, buddy.
And enjoy the rest of your summer.